a world, don't we, that really champions the knowledge economy.
Hmm.
It's everywhere. We're constantly told that the real value, the important stuff, lies in manipulating information. Abstract thought, pushing pixels on a screen.
Right, not getting your hands dirty, so to say.
Exactly, not shaping physical materials. But what if? What if, in this relentless push for an information future, we've actually forgotten something really fundamental?
Something core to maybe what it means to be human, or at least fulfilled.
Yes. What is the profound value, maybe even, a spiritual value, in working with your hands?
That's a huge question, and it gets right to the heart of how we value work, how we think about human dignity even.
It really does.
For decades now, we've sort of funneled people, especially young people, towards screens, towards jobs processing data.
The white-collar path.
Perceived white-collar path, yeah. But there's this growing sense, and I think it's vital, that maybe this isn't the only way. Maybe it's not even the most fulfilling path for everyone, or perhaps even for society as a whole.
Exactly. And that's precisely why today we're taking a deep dive into Matthew B. Crawford's really influential book, Shop Class as Soulcraft, an inquiry into the value of work.
Crawford. He's got such a unique perspective, doesn't he?
He really does. He's perfectly positioned for this. He's a philosopher, academically trained, PhD and all that, who then quite deliberately chose to become a motorcycle mechanic.
Right. So he brings both that intellectual rigor and the, grease-stained hands of real practical experience. It's not just theory for him.
Not at all. And he uses that dual perspective to challenge this deeply ingrained idea, this bias, really, that manual trades are somehow less than.
Right.
That they're just for people who can't make it in college or aren't cut out for the quote-unquote white-collar world.
And what's so compelling about his work is how he just completely flips that script.
Yeah.
He doesn't just defend manual labor, he elevates it.
Yeah.
He makes this incredibly strong case for skilled trades as a path of, deep critical thinking, really sophisticated problem solving.
Things we usually associate with higher education.
Exactly. And he argues it provides this surprising source of agency, of competence, that he feels is often missing in many modern office jobs. It's not just about making things, it's about making a life that feels, tangible, accomplished.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is to really unpack Crawford's philosophy. We want to understand why he calls it Soulcraft. We're going to connect his ideas directly to the kind of intelligence and, frankly, character that you see in master electricians, plumbers, carpenters, the people building our world.
Right, looking at construction specifically.
Exactly. And we need to critique that false and I think damaging separation between white-collar and blue-collar work.
That divide, yeah.
And then look at the really vital implications all this has for, our education system, for one.
Definitely.
And also, very practically, for the skilled labor shortage that's hitting so many industries right now.
It's a huge issue.
So get ready for, hopefully, some surprising insights and maybe a fresh perspective on what it means to be truly well-informed about the world of work itself.
Sounds good. Where should we start? With his core philosophical case.
Let's do that. Let's dive into Crawford's core arguments, starting with his critique of this knowledge economy illusion and this really fascinating idea he introduces, the unselfing aspect of craft.
Okay, so Crawford pulls no punches here. He observes what he calls a two-tiered system of language.
Two-tiered? How so?
Well, he sees language used directly, honestly, in private between people who know what they're talking about. But then in public, or especially within managerial contexts, it often becomes, empty, evasive, deliberately vague even. He actually says, quite pointedly, that the world of managers resembles that of Soviet bureaucrats.
Wow, that's a strong comparison.
It is. His point is that language in those contexts often functions to cover over reality, as he puts it, to deliberately avoid responsibility.
Okay, I think I see what he means. If the language is vague or obscuring reality.
Then, as he says, reward and blame come untethered from good faith effort.
Right, it creates this disconnect, the actual work, the accountability. It all becomes kind of murky. Think about it, in some corporate settings, it can be incredibly hard to pin down who's really responsible when something goes wrong, or even when it goes right.
Yeah, the language allows for so much diffusion, so much abstraction. People can talk around problems instead of directly about them.
Oh, it's all about managing perceptions, maybe, rather than managing reality.
Precisely. And this is where the contrast with manual work becomes so vivid for Crawford. In the trades, the feedback is immediate. It's gloriously unambiguous.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, a bolt either fits or it doesn't. There's no interpretation needed. A pipe seals or it leaks. The evidence is right there, maybe even dripping on your shoes.
Right. Can't argue with elite.
Exactly. There's just no room for rhetorical maneuvering, no trying to spin reality.
Hmm.
The physical world gives you an undeniable, objective verdict on your work. It judges you with an impartiality that, no performance review ever could.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And that leads directly into another key point he makes, right? That manual work acts as a kind of counterweight to narcissism.
Yes, that's a really interesting psychological point he makes. He says, the kind of thinking they do, if they are good, offers a counterweight to the culture of narcissism.
How so? Because of that objective feedback.
Exactly. This kind of work forces you to confront objective reality head on. You can't just weave a narrative about how great your project is going. The engine either runs smoothly or it sputters and dies.
The wall is plumb or it isn't. End of story.
Right. It strips away the ego, in a way. It demands genuine engagement with what is, not just what you wish it was or what you want others to think it is.
Which sounds humbling, actually.
It can be.
Yeah.
And this flows right into his concept of unselfing. He borrows this term from the philosopher Iris Murdoch.
Unselfing. Okay, what does that involve?
Murdoch suggested, and Crawford applies it here, that to respond to the world justly, you have to see it clearly, and for this you have to get outside your own head.
Get outside your own head.
Manual labor, Crawford argues, provides exactly this kind of powerful external focal point. It demands you stop being preoccupied with your own thoughts, your desires, your anxieties.
Your internal chatter.
Precisely. And instead, you have to focus intently on the intricate details of the object or the system right there in front of you. Whether you're, tuning a carburetor or laying a perfect bead of weld.
Or figuring out why that plumbing joint keeps leaking.
Right. The work pulls you out of yourself. It immerses you in the objective reality of the task. It's an act of, humility, but also intense, focused concentration.
So for you listening, think about that in your own life. When have you experienced something similar? Maybe not fixing a motorcycle, but perhaps cooking a complex meal.
Assembling IKEA furniture successfully.
Definitely requires focus. Or even gardening, maybe. Seeing something tangible grow from your effort. How does that direct physical feedback help you gain clarity?
Does it help you step outside your own assumptions?
Yeah.
Ground you in reality?
It's that quiet sense of competence you get from interacting directly with the physical world. Something abstract tasks, maybe staring at emails all day, often don't provide. It reminds you your actions have real, measurable consequences.
Yeah. And moving beyond the individual self, Crawford also makes a really profound case for the inherent dignity of repair and the tangible accountability that comes with it.
The dignity of repair. I like that.
He puts it very forcefully. He says a mechanic, or really any skilled tradesperson, by standing ready to fix things, as a class, they are an affront to the throwaway society.
Wow. An affront to the throwaway society. That really resonates, doesn't it? It pushes back against planned obsolescence.
Completely. And it's not just about saving money, although that's obviously part of it. It's about valuing longevity. It's about understanding how things work, these complex systems.
And fostering a kind of stewardship over objects, over the resources they embody.
Yes. In a world that's increasingly driven by just consuming and replacing, the act of repair is almost a statement. It's an affirmation of value. It's choosing to extend something's life, to understand its inner workings, instead of just tossing it. It demands a totally different mindset.
A mindset of care, maybe.
Care, understanding, patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this commitment to repair is directly linked to accountability. In manual work, Crawford points out, accountability is just inherent. It's immediate.
How so?
He observes that knowing you're going to have to explain your labor bill to a customer forces you to have a crystal clear understanding of the problem and exactly what you did to solve it.
Right, you have to be able to articulate it. I replaced this part because it was worn and that solved the rattling noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to justify your work, your time, the parts used. There's no hiding behind, vague reports or abstract metrics like synergistic outcomes achieved.
Definitely not. It's a world away from shifting blame or diffusing responsibility, which can sometimes happen in more bureaucratic settings.
The proof is right there. The machine works, the pipe is sealed, the structure is sound.
Yeah, when you're dealing with a physical result, there's just no hiding. The success or the failure is immediately apparent to you and to the client or customer.
And Crawford argues this directness fosters a strong sense of personal responsibility. It encourages attention to detail, pride in craftsmanship. It builds a certain kind of character, one that values integrity and, crucially, demonstrable competence.
Okay, so we have the individual focus, the accountability. But Crawford also talks about work as a rational, communal activity, right, involving mentorship.
Yes, absolutely. He highlights that work isn't just about the individual. He suggests that work and leisure both take their bearings from something basically human. Rational activity in association with others.
Rational activity in association with others.
It underscores this fundamental human need we have for purposeful, skilled engagement, which is often, maybe even usually, communal. We're social creatures, right? Finding meaning in shared, skilled activity is a powerful thing.
And how does that play out in learning the trades? It's not just reading books.
No, not at all. This is where it gets really interesting. Crawford describes learning in the trades as an active dialectic.
A dialectic, like a conversation.
Exactly. But not just between people, though that's crucial, talking through problems, sharing tips. It's also a dialectic between iterations. Meaning you try something, maybe you break things, as he says, and then you learn something new by taking them apart and talking it through. It's this constant cycle. Experiment, observe, discuss, refine.
So it's like a living conversation with the materials themselves and with your colleagues.
Precisely. It's hands-on discovery, collective knowledge building. It's not static.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think of an electrical team troubleshooting a complex fault in a building. They don't just consult the manual, right?
No, they'd be testing circuits, trying things.
Right. They'll hypothesize. Maybe it's this breaker. They test it directly against the physical reality of the circuit. They observe the result. Did the lights come on? Did something else trip? Then they discuss it. Okay, that wasn't it. What about the connection at junction box B?
They might even deliberately disconnect something to isolate the problem, which is sort of breaking it in a controlled way.
Exactly. It's this dynamic, almost Socratic method applied to physical problems. This shared dialectic is central to how knowledge and skill actually advance within the group. It fosters a very different kind of intelligence than just memorizing formulas or procedures.
And this mastery, it doesn't happen in isolation. Mentorship seems key here.
Hugely important. Crawford emphasizes the need to open oneself to being schooled by one's elders.
Okay, being willing to learn from experience.
Yes, and that direct transmission of knowledge where experienced hands literally guide new ones, where the subtle tricks, the unspoken wisdom gets passed down. It's invaluable.
It feels quite different from purely formal academic learning, which can sometimes be more individualistic, more theoretical.
Right, focused on abstract principles, maybe more than the messy practical realities. Crawford suggests this apprenticeship model fosters genuine solidarity within a community of practice.
So what does that suggest about, how we transfer skills effectively?
It suggests that true mastery often relies on this intergenerational sharing, this community knowledge. It's a powerful form of cultural transmission, really. Expertise isn't just about individual brilliance. It's about learning from and contributing to a collective body of knowledge built up over time, often through painful trial and error.
Okay, this philosophical groundwork is really rich. Let's pivot now and see how this intelligence actually manifests in practice. Let's connect Crawford's ideas directly to the world of modern construction.
Sounds great. Because a construction site is, it's a perfect crucible for this kind of intellect and skill.
Absolutely. It's dynamic, it's high stakes, it demands incredible practical problem solving, speed, precision, foresight, all under immense pressure.
And you see it everywhere in anecdotes from the field. You mentioned construction guys. Take an example like Jim the carpenter.
Okay, what did Jim do?
Well, the story goes, a subcontractor did some concrete work around a drain, and to put it bluntly, it looks like crap. It's just not right.
Okay, so what does Jim do? Just complain.
No, he spends half a day destroying the bad concrete work around the drain, carefully, precisely, and then another half a day in patching it correctly.
Wow. That's not just fixing, that's recognizing poor quality, knowing how to demolish without causing more damage, and then having the skill to make it perfect.
Exactly. It's hands-on intelligence. It's
Yeah.
correcting errors. And it reflects this deep reverence for quality, maybe reminiscent of those old-time hand trowelers who took immense pride in a perfect finish. It requires understanding materials, tools, the physics of it all.
That's a fantastic example. Mistakes aren't just lines on a spreadsheet. They're chunks of concrete that need skilled intervention. What about Ned?
Ah, Ned, the guy turns a basement into a window-making shop on site.
Right, building custom windows.
Think about the process. Meticulously cutting the wood, sanding it smooth, joining the edges perfectly, cutting dado channels, those precise grooves, assembling it all with glue. fitting the glass.
It's intricate.
It's far more than just assembly line work. It demands incredible precision, a deep understanding of how wood behaves, how glass fits, complex sequential thinking. Every single step has to be right for the final window to function properly and look good. That's bespoke craftsmanship happening right there on a busy construction site.
And then there's the sheer efficiency required in some trades, like the sheetrockers, Dave Pogue's crew.
Oh yeah, the speed and coordination there is something else. You see them slapping huge, heavy gray sheets of plasterboard against the studs, quickly cutting holes for outlets, screwing the rock in place with power drills.
It looks purely physical, but it can't be just that.
It's intensely physical, yes, but it's also about intense focus, seamless teamwork, and constant real-time problem solving. Are the studs straight? Is the corner plumb? How do we handle this awkward angle? All while moving incredibly fast.
And Pogue's instruction to the new guy captures that pressure, right?
Perfectly. He says, pay attention, and I guarantee you'll learn. Don't get hurried. I've got to hurry. Even though you're new, I've got to hurry. It's this blend of needing to teach, needing to maintain quality, but under immense pressure to keep the project moving. That's applied skill under fire.
Okay, so beyond the immediate problem solving, let's talk about the deep knowledge base required. Materials, systems. It's staggering.
It really is. Take something seemingly basic, like soil and foundations.
Seems simple. Dig a hole, pour concrete.
If only. A foundation specialist needs to expertly classify soil. Is it well-graded gravel, which has a high bearing capacity? Maybe it can safely support 10,000 PSF, pounds per square foot.
Okay.
Or is it inorganic silt, which might only handle 2,000 PSF? That difference is huge.
Absolutely critical for structural safety.
And that deep understanding of the local geology directly dictates the foundation design. Maybe they need standard footings. Maybe they need deep caissons, those large concrete piers bored into the earth, often 2.5 feet or more in diameter. It's sophisticated geology and structural mechanics, all to make sure the building doesn't sink or collapse.
Right. And then there's the building envelope itself, the skin of the building.
Yeah, the part that separates inside from outside. Mastering that is incredibly complex. You need to understand vapor barriers, measured in perms, a unit of permeability. Fun fact, a Canadian perm is 57.38 U.S. perms.
Who knew? Okay, so vapor barriers, what else?
Air barriers, like properly sealed drywall. Strategic insulation, maybe spray foam for really good air sealing. It's all about managing heat transfer, keeping heat in or out, and crucially, preventing moisture buildup and mold by keeping interior humidity below 60%.
So it's physics, material science, climate control, all rolled into one system.
Exactly. A system designed for comfort, efficiency, and health. It's incredibly detailed knowledge.
And the structural side requires some serious math and science too, right? Calculating loads and stresses.
Oh, absolutely. Engineers and experienced builders need to know the ultimate strengths of concrete, how much stress it can take before failing. This varies hugely, maybe 1,000 to 3,000 pounds per square inch after it's cured for 28 days.
Okay.
Or they need to determine the allowable stress for timber joists, like maybe 1,600 pounds per square inch for structural yellow pine. This isn't just looking up numbers. It involves material science and advanced math to ensure safety factors are met.
And you mentioned columns bending under complex loads.
Right, understanding how a column behaves under bending about 2 axes being pushed and twisted simultaneously. Without getting these calculations right, the risk of failure is enormous. It's applied engineering happening constantly.
Then there's a wood itself. It's not just wood.
Not at all. There's a whole field of wood technology. Builders need to know different species, recognize defects like brash failure in compression wood where it breaks suddenly, or tension wood, which might cause a fuzzy surface, or absorb stain unevenly.
Things that affect both strength and appearance.
Exactly. And knowing that kiln-dried wood typically means it's dried to below 10% moisture content, suitable for interior use, to stop it from warping or shrinking drastically later. It's this deep, almost intuitive understanding of a natural material's behavior that comes from years of experience.
And layered on top of all that is the mountain of building codes and safety regulations.
Oh yeah, a constantly evolving body of knowledge. Things like allowable building heights, based on occupancy type and whether there are sprinklers. NFPA 13, 13D, 13R specify different sprinkler systems.
Crucial for fire safety.
Absolutely. Knowing firewalls need to be continuous vertically, extending at least 30 inches above adjacent roofs to stop fire spread, calculating the required number of exit doorways for safe evacuation.
It's not just following rules, it's understanding the why behind them.
Right. And beyond compliance, it's about proactively ensuring worker safety, taking all practical action to eliminate or minimize exposure to unsafe and/or unhealthy conditions. It's a massive intellectual and ethical responsibility woven into the daily fabric of construction.
It really paints a picture of deep, multifaceted intelligence. Now, let's step back in time a bit. How does this connect to historical craftsmanship?
The echoes are incredibly strong. The same principles of ingenuity, material knowledge, and problem-solving run deep. We can look at George Agricola's amazing book from 1556, De Re Metallica, about mining and metallurgy.
16th century mining. What was impressive there?
Well, picture the water management systems. Agricola describes these complex water wheels, mortised to an axle, with 2 rows of buckets to lift water out of deep mines. They were operated by teams like 5 men, coordinated by a director in a hanging cage, who had to precisely control the water flow to stop the wheel.
Wow, that's sophisticated mechanical design, resource management, teamwork, all done centuries ago without computers or modern engineering tools. Pure ingenuity.
Pure applied ingenuity. And the material science. Think about assaying ores, figuring out the metal content.
How did they even do that back then?
It was intricate. They made small crucibles, called cupels, from the ashes of bones or horns. They'd grind the ore sample, mix it with fluxes like lead or saltpeter, and heat it carefully to separate the metals.
That sounds like complex chemistry done entirely by hand and observation.
It was complex chemistry, learned through generations of trial and error, not guesswork, but a refined empirical process.
And they had to be smart about sorting the ore before smelting too, right?
Absolutely critical. They had to handpick and sometimes minutely crush the ore to separate the valuable parts from the worthless rock. Agricola notes that smelting unseparated ore could receive great damage.
So keen observation and physical sorting directly impacted the economics. Practical knowledge was money.
Exactly. Now, shift forward a century or so to early printing and Joseph Moxon's mechanic exercises, late 17th century.
Printing type. How does that show craft intelligence?
Moxon describes how the letters themselves are compounded of geometric figures and mostly made by rule and compass. He saw it as a skill relevant to writing masters, painters, carvers, masons. It connected geometry, aesthetics, and practical making.
So designing type was an intellectual, almost mathematical act.
Very much so. And the making of the punches the steel masters used to create the letter molds was incredibly precise.
How precise?
Moxon details filing the tiny insides and outsides of the letter shape, then smoothing and polishing with small watchmaker's files. But here's the genius part. The shouldering, the little ledge around the letter.
Yeah.
It couldn't be a sharp right angle. It had to be an obtuse angle of about 100 degrees.
Why? That seems oddly specific.
To prevent the ink from smearing around the letter edges during printing, and also to prevent the fine strokes of the letter from breaking under pressure.
That's incredible. A tiny detail in the angle of a metal punch directly affects the quality and durability of the printed page centuries later. Micro-precision with huge impact.
Isn't it amazing? And it speaks volumes about the empirical knowledge these craftspeople had. How does that level of hand-achieved precision compare to mass production?
It's a different world. And they had quality control, too.
Oh, yes. Moxon describes justifying the mold, adjusting it by casting about 20 proofs or letters, and comparing them meticulously to patterns to ensure the final type pieces had the exact body, thickness, straightness, and length.
So iterative refinement. Testing, adjusting, testing again. The scientific method applied to craft.
Exactly. Long before we called it that.
Okay, let's bring in some architects and master builders now. How did they blend theory and practice?
Well, looking back to the medieval period, you have figures like Villard de Honnecourt in the 13th century. His sketchbook survives 33 pages of parchment filled with notes and drawings. He was clearly an expert in stonework and carpentry.
Not just a designer, but a maker.
Right. And William of Sens, who rebuilt Canterbury Cathedral's choir after a fire, was described as most skillful in both wood and stone. These masters embodied a comprehensive hands-on expertise.
And moving forward in time, Viollet-le-Duc.
Viollet-le-Duc, the great 19th century champion of Gothic revival, he insisted on reason and genius together. He demanded a definite scientific treatment of materials, understanding their strength, weight, how light played on them.
So beauty arising from understanding the material.
Yes, he believed true architectural order came from proportions, not just size, and he criticized buildings that were just an architectural spectacle rather than honestly expressing their structure and purpose. He wanted authenticity.
What about Palladio? Known for his classical theories, but was he practical?
Very much so, despite the theory. Palladio in the 16th century famously used woodblocks to spread his architectural ideas. This simplified classical forms, making them accessible for actual builders to execute.
So he translated theory into buildable practice.
Exactly. His inventiveness is more to the point than his accuracy in copying antiquity. His designs focus on practical things like mass, how light entered, modulating light, and integrating sculpture within the structure, not just sticking it on. He thought like a builder.
And Le Corbusier, the modernist icon, did he value the making?
In his own way, yes. He famously contrasted decoration and proportion. Decoration is the quantum of the peasant, and proportion is the quantum of the cultivated man.
A bit elitist sounding, maybe.
Perhaps. But his point was that beauty should emerge from fundamentals.
Yeah.
Utility, economy, elementary shapes. He admired the noble pomp of mathematics in classical proportions. His core idea that the exterior results from the interior speaks to an honesty of construction. Form follows function and structure.
Interesting. And Frank Lloyd Wright, he definitely seemed hands-on.
Absolutely. Wright fiercely criticized conventional educational methods based on rote learning. He championed independent thought, creativity, and understanding design and nature.
And he practiced what he preached.
Definitely. His struggles to get lumber to continue construction at Taliesin during hard times, procuring virgin oak timber through labor-intensive logging with his own apprentices, his fellowship, that embodies a deep physical connection to materials in the building process. It wasn't just about drawings for him.
You can feel that connection in his buildings.
You really can. And just think about the sheer willpower involved in large projects. Engineers like Isambard Kingdom Brunel.
The great British engineer.
His motto was perseverantia, perseverance. And he needed it. Imagine the Great Eastern, his massive ship, the rudder breaks, storms destroy the paddle wheels. But he keeps going.
It's not just technical skill, it's resilience, problem solving under immense stress.
It's that deep, practical engagement with the physical world, overcoming his challenges. It really echoes that fundamental human drive Crawford talks about.
Okay, this historical perspective is powerful. It sets the stage perfectly for our final section, bridging the divide. How does all this connect to today with modern tools, collaboration, and the societal implications?
Right, because the world of skilled work isn't frozen in time, it's evolving, and modern tools are integrating the digital and the physical bits and atoms in really fascinating ways.
Proving the intelligence of the hand is still crucial, even becoming more complex.
Exactly. Take Building Information Modeling, BIM.
Okay, that's digital software, right? Seems like head work.
It is digital, but it's profoundly connected to the physical construction. BIM uses parametric relations to create incredibly detailed 3D models. It has object families, embedding expertise for fabricating steel, concrete, ductwork precisely.
So it helps plan the physical work better.
Immensely. And it catches errors before they happen on site. BIM can flag if, say, a window size changed in the plans, but no corresponding change was made to the masonry opening.
Preventing costly mistakes, so it directly aids the craftsperson.
Yes, it leverages digital intelligence to enhance manual precision and coordination. It's a powerful bridge.
And what about making tools more accessible? Fab Labs.
That's another exciting area, championed by Neil Gershenfeld at MIT. His vision for Fab Labs fabrication laboratories is ultimately to be able to make another Fab Lab. Self-replicating local production.
Empowering local communities.
Exactly. Letting makers gain skills as well as the economic activity. Think about the MTM snap machine. It literally snaps together and can even cut out its own circuit boards.
Wow, that really is shop class for the 21st century.
It puts advanced fabrication tools into more hands, bridging digital design and physical creation right at the local level.
And smart buildings. That sounds like more bits than atoms.
Well, yes and no. Active and networked architecture is emerging, buildings that perform as living organisms, creating this connective tissue between the realities of bits and atoms.
Sounds complex.
It is, but managing these buildings still relies on understanding dynamic systems with competing balancing loops. Gershenfeld likens it to trying to keep a bucket full when there's a hole in the bottom.
So it still requires that systems-level thinking, like a traditional tradesperson diagnosing a complex problem.
Absolutely. It mirrors that holistic problem solving, but now with layers of data and automation involved. The plumber in a smart building still needs foundational knowledge, but now also needs to interpret sensor data telling them where the leak might be. The skills evolve.
This evolution also impacts how projects are managed, right? Management has to rely on the execution.
Critically, construction management, CM, exists to expedite and improve the efficiency of building. A key tool is the constructability review.
What's that?
It's where they scrutinize the design documents for clarity, consistency, completeness, and ease of construction. It forces designers to think about the practical realities. How will this actually be built? It's where headwork meets handwork in planning.
Makes sense. And things like lean principles.
Yeah, the last planner system, LPS, is huge in modern construction. It focuses on improving workflow reliability, using things like coordinated weekly work plans and pull planning.
Pull planning.
It means the downstream crews pull work from the upstream ones when they're ready, ensuring things flow smoothly. The goal is that what should be done can be done when needed, minimizing delays and waste.
And LPS distinguishes between different types of work.
Crucially, yes. It separates commitment planning for knowledge work, maybe weekly planning, from craft work planning, often daily or by shift. It acknowledges the different rhythms and needs of physical production versus design or management tasks. Effective management has to respect the realities on the ground.
And ethics become really important in these complex collaborations.
Absolutely essential. Project management standards stress trustworthiness and proactively identifying potential conflicts between personal interests and the project's or client's interest.
Building trust is as important as building the structure itself.
Because without trust, collaboration just collapses, and the tangible work suffers immensely.
So how do these roles, manager, designer, craftsperson, truly depend on each other?
Well, Peter Drucker, the management guru, reminded us managers must commit to objectives, knowing what is expected and why. It highlights that thinking and doing aren't separate silos. They're intertwined. Each is the other.
And yet the people doing the doing often feel undervalued.
That's the irony Samuel Florman pointed out. Engineers, sometimes called a technocratic elite, often complain about a lack of prestige and power. Florman argued real power often lies elsewhere, with the wealthy, the clever, the daring, not necessarily just the technical experts.
So skilled practitioners, essential as they are, might still be undervalued.
It reinforces that idea. Whether engineers or carpenters, their contribution is fundamental, yet often not given the societal respect or influence it perhaps deserves.
Which brings us squarely to education and societal respect. What are the implications here?
Huge implications. Remember, Frank Lloyd Wright's critique of education focused on rote learning, his call for independent thought, creativity, understanding design and nature.
Yeah, it resonates perfectly with Crawford's message.
We desperately need an education system that values the holistic intelligence found in the trades, one that moves beyond this narrow focus on purely abstract academic achievement.
Imagine schools genuinely integrating the workshop and the classroom,
Fostering intelligence of both hand and mind, valuing making as much as analyzing.
because this whole deep dive really is a defense, a philosophical defense of the intelligence, the character. Yes, the soul of the modern builder, the modern maker.
Exactly. And recognizing that deep critical thinking, that problem solving, embedded in the trades, it's crucial, not just for the individuals, but for society.
It's not just about filling jobs in the skilled labor shortage.
No, it's about fostering a more balanced, more respectful society that genuinely values all forms of productive human intelligence and contribution. When we elevate the trades, we elevate ourselves.
So as we wrap up, let's recap. We've unpacked Matthew Crawford's powerful argument. Manual labor isn't just physical, it's soulcraft.
A path to intellectual engagement, personal fulfillment, finding that tangible sense of agency.
We've seen it from ancient metallurgists carefully assaying ore, early printers shaping type with incredible precision,
To modern construction managers orchestrating complex projects with BIM and skilled carpenters correcting flaws with expert hands. The intelligence is undeniable.
the intelligence of the hand and mind working together. Deep material knowledge, problem solving under pressure. It's a rich tapestry of skills.
So whether you, listening, spend your days at a desk or on a job site, maybe this deep dive prompts a reevaluation of that old divide, headwork versus handwork.
What if real understanding, real fulfillment comes from integrating both?
How might a renewed respect for skilled trades enrich our communities, solve real problems, and maybe enrich our own lives by connecting us more tangibly to the world?
It's really a call to find dignity and meaning in all kinds of useful, constructive work.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. As our world gets more digital, more connected, bridging bits and atoms, how will this essential tangible intelligence of the builder, the craftsperson, continue to evolve.
What new forms of soulcraft might emerge at the intersection of physical and virtual, where digital tools augment skill rather than replacing it?
How can we cultivate that joy of discovery in all kinds of work? And how do we genuinely honor the character and soul of the modern builder?
Maybe the next time you see something being built or fixed or just beautifully made by hand, pause for a second. Think about the intelligence, the dedication, the quiet soulcraft beneath its surface.
Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Until next time.